Hello and welcome to the Rangers Rabble Academy review. Hope everybody's doing well. Tonight I'm joined by Alex. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Good, yeah.
Good stuff, mate. Right, well, can I get straight into it? I know there's obviously Champions League stuff on tonight. I'm sure guys have got other things they can be watching, so I'll not keep you waiting for too long. We'll look at some of the recent scores for the B team. I'll probably talk about the 18s games because obviously Alex wasn't at them, and we'll talk about stuff like Adam Devine signing a new contract, Connor Allen. We'll talk a little bit about Leon King, um, Alex Lowry coming back from injury, etc. We'll kind of go through a few things and we'll just kind of go kind of ad hoc if there's any questions as well. Okay, so first up was a 3-2 victory against Hearts. I've got to be honest to say I didn't think we played well that day. I think we were probably fortunate to get the 3 points. The pitch wasn't the best, but as everybody says, that's the same for both teams, isn't it? So you've got to be good enough to get in possession of the ball. Alex, did you expect Rangers to win more comfortably in that game, or did you think it was going to be a tough task?
I thought I wasn't really sure. I haven't watched a lot of Hearts B team personally, so I wasn't really sure what they had to offer. But I wasn't massively surprised once I did get to see them, and we seemed to make it a hell of a lot harder for ourselves than it needed to be.
Yeah, look, I don't think it was pretty, in all honesty. We obviously managed to, get in front, I think it was, in the game, and then Hearts equalised. We then got in front again. Connor Young won the penalty. And then I think we lost a poor goal from a set piece, which seems to be a problem this year, to be honest. Not just for the B team, but for the 18s. And it's something that we probably need to rectify if we're going to be more consistent from those type of positions. Then obviously late on, Zach Lovelace managed to get a little bit of luck. I think obviously the defender kind of misread the ball and he ended up playing it right into Zach Lovelace and he managed to kind of scoop it by the goalkeeper. I know obviously everybody will say that, like sort of winning's the be all and end all, but I'm still a big believer that obviously we've got a way that we want to play, and that wasn't great that game. I just didn't think we did enough. I thought our quality was reasonably poor, and also speaking to David McCallum after the match, I don't think he was too happy. Because even though you're winning games, there's a way of winning games, and I think the way the academy is and the way they want us to play, that just wasn't a great performance, clearly. But I get why people say like sort of winning's the be all and end all, but you still want to have a certain degree of quality. Okay, we'll move on to the Liverpool game in the UEFA Youth League. If anybody watched that game on BT that's in the comments, feel free to drop us some comments or whatever, and we'll try and pick up on anything, and also we'll try and answer them the best they can between the two of us. Alex, what did you make of the performance, and did you think that the score line was the right one?
To be honest, especially from the first half anyway, the scoreline seemed to flatter us. If anything, Liverpool were definitely the much better side. And although, like you say, I think Robbie had a chance early on, there wasn't a lot going for Rangers. And the thing that was a little bit worrying was the lack of intensity. I think we dropped off massively from the urgency that we saw, just weeks before against Napoli's under-19s. It was day and night. The games were completely different. And listen, Liverpool have a very good squad, and you're not going there. You're going there to compete, not to roll them over. We knew that. We knew that it wasn't going to be an easy game whatsoever, and at no point did anybody say that. And we're also not expecting to sit here, 3-0, 4-0 winners, or even 1-0, 2-0 winners. I think the most important part of it is in the learning curve was the overall performance, and we got exactly what we deserved in the end.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, mate. I think it was Robbie that had a great chance when it was at 0-0, a really good ball into the box. And normally Robbie Ure in those positions is deadly. But he just couldn't, get his effort on target. And that was a bit of frustration because Liverpool, not too long after that, then, went up the park and scored. I've got to be honest, I think I put a tweet out saying it as well, that I thought Liverpool were very good. I thought we were outplayed for a large part of the game. When you see like the quality that a lot of these English youth internationals are, like you get to understand why there's a lot of excitement around like the quality of the English youngsters coming through. Well, they get the chances at places like Liverpool and Man United and Man City, etc. will be seen over the years. But yeah, look, Liverpool fully deserved their win, and I thought they were very impressive. And the academy itself was very impressive. It was good of the club to help us get access to that game, and it was a real eye opener. And hopefully for some of our young players as well, it opens their eyes as to what level you need to be at if you want to kind of take that next step in football. And that's the biggest thing for me. That was what to take out of the game. It'll be interesting to see, obviously looking ahead to tomorrow quickly, if we make many changes. Is there anything that stood out to you, Alex, that maybe needs to change? Do we need to bring Connor Young in? Do we need to have a change of system? Do you think that Bailey Rice deserves to start? Like these kind of things, do you think that there is something there that we could do that could hopefully help us put in a better performance against Liverpool?
I definitely think Connor Young should at least be in the conversation. I've not seen a lot of Bailey Rice. I thought he was pretty decent. Kind of did his job against Napoli, and has, in the games I've watched, he doesn't look 15 anyways. He definitely looks a bit older than that, and he holds his own well. So I'd imagine he's definitely in the conversation. But Connor Young, from what he brought off the bench at the weekend, and just recently what he's brought to the team anyway, from what I've seen from Connor Young, is he definitely almost deserves that start. Sorry, off the bench against Liverpool, and then get the goal at the weekend. I think he deserves to start. He's definitely earned it, and he can cause Liverpool problems.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the big thing for the manager. He's obviously got a lot of attacking options. He's got Aaron Lyle, James Graham, Robbie Ewer, Zach Lovelace, Ross McCausland, Connor Young. And I think at times, we probably should see some changes. So it was interesting against Edinburgh City that we did see some of those changes. Against Edinburgh Uni. Apologies to Edinburgh City there. Edinburgh Uni. Obviously, at the weekend, we managed to win 3-1. I wasn't at the game, but speaking to a couple of people who were obviously at the game and kind of catching the highlights, Edinburgh Uni will probably feel kind of unlucky that they didn't take something out of the game. And maybe we didn't get the reaction maybe that the manager would have wanted from that game, especially after the Liverpool defeat. I think that's something that might show up again tomorrow. Maybe the manager will put players in to get a reaction. It was great to see Bailey Rice get his start for the B team. I think he's only just turned. In fact, I think he might have just turned 16 either the day of or the day before the Liverpool game. So he's now like sort of legally allowed to play in the Lowland League. So for me, I think we will see more of Bailey, and Bailey's certainly an exciting player and somebody that I think we will see more and more of as the season goes on. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game, but also a bit apprehensive because you know that if Liverpool turn up and play the way they did down at their training ground, it could be another tough 90 minutes. We'll just catch up on some of the comments. All right, Nicholas, how's it going, mate? It's good to have you on the comment section as always. So, Leon King, much more potential than KT and a younger. When he went for 25 volume. Yeah, look, we'll touch on Leon now. Obviously, I was going to maybe hold back till maybe a little bit on, but we'll come to you on that as well, Alex. Obviously, today, the kind of guru of Twitter, Fabrizio Romano, when it comes to sporting scoops and football news, had put out a tweet saying that 3 English Premier League teams are keeping an eye on Leon King after his performance against Liverpool at Anfield in the Champions League. What did you make of Leon's performance? And obviously, can you understand why the top teams are now looking at somebody like Leon?
Yeah, there's no surprise. No surprise for me. I think last year I caught him in a few B team games, and this year obviously in the few first team appearances last season, but more this season. He's looked assured in every game. He's looked really assured. I mean, the one that stood out for me last season, I'd seen him in the B team, and it's no easy game whatsoever. But the step up is obviously very huge. When we played St Mirren away last season, we won 4-0. Leon King didn't look out of play. It didn't look like one of his first games. It looked like he was there next to Goldson every single week, and he looked really assured. I thought he put a really good account of himself against Liverpool. We had three centre halves who, in all honesty, didn't do a lot wrong against Liverpool, and he's unlucky for the penalty. I think there's just he's trying to do his job. He does get a bit unlucky, and Lundstram obviously gets tangled as well. So there's not a lot he could have done there. He is just a little bit of maybe inexperience against such a massive team such as Liverpool. Chances like those are going to come, but it is very promising for this to be. Leon King's been coming through for a few seasons now. When he was 16, 17, you'd heard the name. I knew who he was before I knew who Alex Lowry was. Leon King he's a really, really good player, and I'm delighted to have him at Rangers for as long as we do. But again, it shows that the academy is definitely going somewhere, or a lot of progress has been made anyway. Obviously, we had Nathan Patterson. Bassey had time in the academy before, not a lot, but he was there. And Alex Lowry coming through to the first team. You got Leon King coming through to the first team. There are the next ones, such as Robbie Ewer's there, Charlie McCann's there. These players coming through is huge for us, because it gives us a pathway, a system that's actually going to progress our players and allow the academy to have some sort of first team focus, some sort of first team purpose, and that's what I love Leon King. I think he's literally fitted in perfectly, and no matter at the moment, now that Davis has seemed to regain some fitness, no matter which two centre backs would be in there, I would be more than happy. I have a feeling we might go with three again tomorrow night, and I think Gio said that Leon will be involved, and that's superb for obviously his experience, but to watch him as well, because he deserves the opportunity, and I think he'll put on a good show.
Yeah, look, I was lucky enough to be at Anfield watching the game, or so unlucky enough, depending on your viewpoint of the match, obviously. But it was great to find out that Leon was starting. So getting inside the stadium, because we were in about 6 o'clock, we were in about 2 hours before the game kicked off. Seeing him coming out for warm-ups, he's so calm. Leon, he's always had that about him, a certain kind of degree of, I don't think he gets too worried about things, and that can only be a good thing, clearly. And I thought during the game he did a really good game. In Scottish football, you're not going to come up against guys like Jota and Diaz and Salah and Firmino and Nunez very often. You're just not coming up against that standard opposition. So for Leon to come in and play the way he did, I thought was exceptional. And I think it tells you a lot about the lad and how confident he is in his own ability, that he can stand up to that and he can really show the world how good a player he is. I think it was Curry Muncher, if I can find the comment. He was saying, obviously, we've all knew how good Leon was, even pre-Liverpool. It was only a matter of time before the big guns come sniffing about. He's not the only one that will be getting looked at. He's spot on. Leon, probably since the age, 12, 13, 14, 15, there seems to have been just a constant queue of teams being linked to Leon. And I think a bit like at the time with Billy Gilmour, there was a concern that maybe Leon would leave. But in the end, he obviously stayed at the football club. And he's obviously just sort of developed even further and further during that time. He was always a standout for the B team. You could see that he was possibly, a step above that level. And the argument was at times that maybe he shouldn't have been playing in the lower league. It wasn't really pushing him enough. So this season, the fact that Gio's really had him in and around, the sort of match day squad every week, and the fact that he's come off the bench quite a few times, and the fact that he's now starting games as well, shows how much faith the manager has in him. I would love to see I should say that again. I'd love to see Leon stay, because I know how talented he is, and I know that he's only going to get better. You still got to remember that he's only 18 years old. He's still a kid. He's still going to improve, and he's only going to get stronger and quicker. He's only going to get more experience of playing. Leon could be a monster for Rangers for many years. And then when that time does come and he does leave Rangers for one of these English clubs or a club abroad, the club are handsomely paid for it, and Leon moves on to the next stage of his career. And I don't think anybody would criticise him for doing so, because we all understand that, the world of football isn't just about Scottish football. It's about, the money you can earn, and like the lifestyle you can have, etc. So yeah, look, there's no criticism of Leon, whatever he chooses to do, but I would love to see him stay and have a long-term career at Rangers potentially. Okay, well, can I touch on the next game just quickly? Also, get Liverpool tomorrow. It's probably one of those must-win games, isn't it, Alex? We probably do need to take something from that game if we're going to get out of this group.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ajax obviously had to come to us, and we gave them a really, really tough game in Amsterdam. And there's no saying that we can't take anything off Napoli over at their bit, because we did it ours, and realistically 3-2 flattered them massively. Rangers could have put a lot more past them, and it takes two defensive scuffles for Napoli to come away with some goals. So there are opportunities elsewhere to take points, but this is where this is the game that, if you're gonna it's the game that you want to watch and say that Rangers can definitely take something. It is the hardest home group game. I mean, we've already played the hardest away game, which was last week away to Liverpool, and they are such a fantastic side. They will put a very hard challenge up against Rangers, but I have no doubt in our academy's ability that they can challenge.
Yeah, look, I think there's no doubt that when you looked at that group, Ajax and Liverpool were probably deemed to be the two favourites, and you could understand why. In the first game, we were obviously quite unlucky against Ajax. We probably deserved to take something from the game. I thought we were very good against Napoli. I think we both said that, even at the game. Also, Liverpool, I think it's been shown that they are a step up. I think their quality was better than what we've seen so far in the group. And I think tomorrow we'll obviously need to be at that level if we're going to take anything out of the game. I'll just touch on some of the other comments. Connie Muncher saying the plus for the young Rangers players is they seen how much Patterson got while staying at the club. It is no more that I need to move to get the big move. Yeah, look, I mean, like Nathan's obviously, he was part of a successful Rangers team, and then obviously the club, were offered an amount of money that they felt was acceptable, given that obviously James Tavernier was the first choice at the time, and Nathan was kind of obviously dropping in and out of the team. So yeah, I think the money we got for Nathan and like the potential sell-on fee, etc., could turn out to be huge as well, just like it is for a lot of players now. Another question coming in, which is a wee bit kind of left field, but I'll answer it, Stuart. How good is Jack Wiley? Arsenal are supposed to be looking at him. Yeah, look, I've seen Jack quite a few times playing for the under-16s. He can play at full-back or centre-back. He's a big, strong lad. When he plays full-back, he really does like to get forward. What would you say? He's quite aggressive in the tackle. He's not afraid to put himself about. I really like him. I think, that 16s group gets some really talented players. Cammy Scott, who's been playing for the under-18s this year, is one that I really like watching. I think he's a smashing player. I really like Grant Marchand, who's a midfield player. I like the way that he gets on the ball and moves it forward. Obviously, the guy with the best name in Scottish football, Lancelot Pollard, who is a real joy to watch when he gets that ball at his feet. It's scary, to be honest. Like, you just can't get the ball off him. He's got real trickery, real pace, great eye for goal. He's really creative in the final third. And yeah, I mean, the 16s are due to play Celtic in the cup final, hopefully in the next month or two, once it's confirmed by the football club. And when we find out when that game is, I'm pretty sure it'll be open to the public. So if people want to get along and watch that game, I'll try and get the details out to people so they can go along. One of the other comments from James Glasgow, surely we should be getting at least 150 games minimum before we even contemplate selling him. Still annoys me how quickly we sold Patterson. Yeah, look, I think the problem is, James, is like most things in football, money talks. And when clubs start offering money that the club feel as though they can't turn down, it becomes a problem. I don't know if things are now deemed to be different at the football club because of the money we got from last year's European run and the money we get from the Champions League. Only the board can answer those questions. But clearly you can't have a mandate every year of selling your best one or two players, because eventually you're going to end up getting left with nothing, and that becomes a problem. So it's obviously about picking and choosing the right players to sell at the right time. But I do agree, hopefully we do have Leon for a bit longer than we did with Nathan. For the house, and Bailey has just turned 16. Indeed, he has, mate. I think it was either the day of or the day before the Liverpool game. I was talking to his dad after the match, and I think he was telling me that. But yeah, Bailey's a hell of a footballer for somebody his age. I think he could be the next one to kind of see that progression quite quickly through the B team and into the first team. I really like when I watch Bailey play. He's a very good technical player, especially the way that he just sits in front of the back four. Really good range of passing, reads the game well. Really exciting young player. Hopefully, if anybody's going to the UEFA Youth League games, they'll get to see a bit of Bailey, and obviously they can have their own opinion on him at some point. Okay, we'll move on to the under-18 games. I'll just go through them quickly because I know most people obviously won't have seen that particular group very often. The kind of 2 games from the last time we were on the pod was a 4-2 victory against Motherwell at the training ground. The weather in that first half in that game was horrendous. The wind in the rain was howling, so I was kind of standing under the balcony to keep cover because I was due back at work afterwards. I didn't want to get soaked. Cameron Cooper scored a couple of good goals. Paul and Seo scored, and a Christian Webster penalty. In the end, it was probably a fair result, but yet again, we still don't seem to be able to play well for 90 minutes in games at the under-18s at the moment, and that is a bit of a concern. But obviously, a lot of these players are still young and they're new to the group, so a lot of patience is required. A big loss is obviously Archie Stevens. He got injured while playing away with the England under-17s, so it doesn't look like he'll be back anytime soon. So that is a bit of a loss. But we do have guys like obviously Kieran Willocks to come in there that can do a good job. So hopefully, we'll see these guys back in the coming weeks. I think our next game is Friday night against Hibs at the training centre. And then obviously the one that I think probably caught a lot of people's eye was the 4-1 defeat to Hamilton Accies after taking a 1-0 lead thanks to Jack Roberts. I wasn't actually at that game, but I've spoke to a couple of the guys that were at it, and basically it was unacceptable, the quality of the performance. Fair play to Hamilton, that's the second time this season they scored 4 goals by us. The first game at the training centre was poor, but it sounds like the game at New Douglas Park was worse. So obviously to lose 4-1 is not really acceptable from a Rangers age group. And actually from speaking to the guys at the game, it just wasn't a great performance. Next up, as I say, is Hibs at the training centre on Friday night at 7:30. Okay, we'll touch on the new deals. Obviously, you've seen a bit of Adam Devine, Alex. Were you pleased to see him getting his 2-year extension to his contract?
Yeah. I think something that Devine offers is obviously he's back up to James Tavernier, but he offers like I say, he offers that bit of cover, but he is actually pretty decent on the ball. He's obviously got a long way to go before he reaches Tavernier's level, but and unfortunately that means that when comparisons happen, he will get underrated because his ability is really good. He is a really good player. He's just not going to be near, he's got a tough time getting anywhere near that first team spot because of how important Tavernier is to us. No, I like he offers a lot and still has a lot more to offer, and that'll be why he's got the new deal. And hopefully that means that he crosses the line as well, and he becomes one of those players that makes the full transition from the youth teams to the big first team.
Do you think that, and without being disrespectful, in some of the lesser games that Rangers play at Ibrox, do you think that is possibly the opportunity to give Adam some more game time?
Well, he started against Queen of the South, didn't he? And he looked assured. It wasn't a superb performance, but you couldn't really criticise it. And most of the play, that was another superb performance from Leon King, who seemed to single-handedly carry the defence, especially on counter-attacks, where we were caught out more times than needed to be. I think there's definitely possibilities. We've got a very heavy schedule, and with Dundee at home coming up in the Cup, why not?
Yeah, look, mate, I think there's a good opportunity maybe between now and the winter break to give Adam a couple of games. Because there's obviously going to be a constant flow of midweek games as well. So it might be an opportunity to give Tav a bit of a break there. But we'll see, because you never know what can happen in football. Injuries can be picked up or suspension. So we'll see what comes in the next month or so. Connor Allen has signed his new deal until 2025 as well. Really pleased for Connor. What have you made of Connor when you've seen him, Alex? And do you think he is the sort of player that could maybe then take that next step into the first team potentially?
Yeah, Connor is it. He seems to be a really good player. I mean, how old is he? He's only 18.
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure Connor's 18.
He's he's played well. Again, I've only seen him in person once, and that was the game against Napoli. But from what I saw against in the couple league games, and then obviously he scored against Liverpool as well. He seems to be coming on well, and I think that's somebody that obviously is come in from the. I think it was from Hibs that he came in from in the summer, and no, wasn't that was Connor Young, wasn't it? I'm talking Connor Young here. Connor Allen's a centre back. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Connor. Oh, I mean, against Napoli, he was superb. He was superb against Napoli. Connor Allen. I really rate him, and I think that is again somebody that is a bit of a distance away from the first team, but that is somebody that could potentially make it in the not so near future. And why not? There is the pathway there now. I mean, players like King, Patterson, Bassey, Lowry, they're creating that pathway. Robbie Ewer, they're creating that pathway where the opportunity, where there's the confidence that these players can now go on and have a shot at the first team. Like I said, I've not seen a lot of Connor Allen. I thought he was pretty good against Napoli, but other than that, I've not seen a lot of him.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing with Connor is obviously, I think my early memories of him were like the under-16s. He came into a group of players who were very good, with guys like Jack McConnell, Sam Lovey, Kelsey and Harley Ewan, Mackenzie Strachan, Robbie Ewer. I mean, Leighton Dunlop. There was a lot of talent in that group. So for Connor Allen to come into it and actually make it better showed you the standard that he already was at. And at that point, he was a midfield player. And even when he moved up to the 18s, he was in midfield. But then with the kind of rash of injuries, which meant that Connor had to move back to centre half. And basically, he's been there ever since. And I think he's just got better and better and better. And even since moving up to the B team, he's just so consistent. And because of the fact he's played in midfield, he's very good with the ball at his feet. He's got a composure about him. And I think he gives you that versatility that if you need to make a change within the game, Connor can just step up and move into midfield. And I think that's the big thing that I really like about Connor. He's got that versatility. For all he can play in those two positions, he's equally good at both. And that's a real blessing for the manager. But I think Connor's got a chance. I really do. But I think it's one of those ones where it's the next step in his development for Connor Allen. And being able to go out and maybe play at that next level. And that's where we'll find out more about the player. And I think that's the exciting thing. And hopefully Connor will be the first of many that do make the breakthrough over the next couple of years. Okay, we've obviously touched on, Leon King and the interest in him. Alex Lowry was another one that obviously had a lot of interest in him prior to signing his new contract. I think Newcastle were one of the clubs linked with him at that point, possibly Leeds United. Sounds like obviously Alex is close to coming back as well. Do you think that Alex will need to play a couple of B team games first before we see him back in the first team?
Yeah, I can imagine so. I think that's however that's how we see ourselves in the position we're in, because we ran the risk of playing such a superb player in the B team games, and we end up without him because of a ridiculous tackle from a so-called professional footballer, and it was a really poor tackle, a malicious tackle which sees Alex out until just now. But it is great to have him back, and you've got to think positively. He is absolutely superb, and he's somebody that just oozes confidence. I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see him back in the first team. I really think he offers something different to what we have. He's a midfielder who takes people on, who has shots from outside the box. You know, he is a goal scoring midfielder, something that for years we've been talking about. You know, that we've lacked anyway. So to add somebody for free is brilliant news. But I can see him, you know, it's much better to break him back in slowly rather than rush him, because we should try and, you know, caution it so that we have him for longer. He is a really good player and somebody that can have a major impact on the first team season.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of look at some of the questions as well coming in. James is asking, haven't seen Connor Young play, but his range of different finishes have certainly caught my eye. What type of player is he? Connor is what you would probably say is like an old school striker. You know, he's a bit bigger, a bit stronger. His link up play is reasonably good. I think maybe the only thing that Connor maybe lacks is maybe that little bit of extra pace, but not every striker has that, clearly. He has a ridiculous strike for distance. I mean, I don't know if I've seen many better players that hit the ball from distance like him. You know, it's ridiculous the amount of goals that he scores from outside the box. I know that's one of the big things that people talk about now in football, that maybe we don't do that enough. You know, that we don't shoot from outside the box. Well, if you've got Connor Young in your team, you're probably going to have at least a couple of pop shots every game. And because he takes a chance on them, you know, they'll sometimes end up in the back of the net. I think he's had a couple of 30-yarders this year, which have been outrageous. His goal at the weekend, he obviously just checks to his right foot, which is a rarity for Connor. And then he just obviously gets to whipping the bend on it into the top corner. I think he's probably been slightly harshly dealt with. It hasn't maybe played a little bit more from the starting games. I know it'll be interesting because yet again we've got quite a busy schedule coming up for the B team because of games that had to get postponed because of these UEFA Youth League games. So it'll be interesting to see how many games he starts over the coming weeks to see where he is. You know, he basically averages a goal every other game that he starts. So like, you can't really kind of argue that either. And yeah, it'll be interesting. Everybody's got their own opinions on these. You know, I think Robbie Muir's a very good player. Zach Lovelace is clearly a very good player, as is Ross McCausland. And it's how do you fit all these guys into your team? That's always going to be the problem. So the manager's always going to have this issue where how does he do that? Because you're never going to keep everybody happy. That's just the reality of football at any level. Connie Michael's having a bit of a go here, mate, at you. He's saying, I'm not saying it's a dodgy haircut, but sure I see now Alex outside the dog groomers. That's a bit harsh, Curry. That's harsh.
It's all right. I feel like Curry only comes on here just to see if I've had a haircut or not.
I mean, he used to do the same with Martin, so it's all right, mate. You've joined the club. It's all good. RFC 56 saying, I have big hopes for Robbie Ewer and Zach Lovelace as well. Some amount of young talent waiting for a chance. Yeah, look, Robbie, obviously the fact he's made his first team debut and got a goal, you know, I'm sure he is now being looked at by a lot of supporters as potentially somebody that can come in and play. I think the thing with Zach is, you know, got to remember, Zach is still only 16. And when Martin interviewed him after the game at Hearts B, when he stood in front of Martin, and like Martin's not like a small guy in terms of his size, right? But Zach Lovelace just stood over the top of him. And he's some size of a man for 16 years old. And if he can develop his talents and his technique and his finishing, there is no doubting the kid's got somewhere that he can go within Rangers. But we do have to still remember that he is only 16. I don't think he's 17 until like January. So he certainly has a bit of a way to go. So it's probably just been patient with him as much as anything else. Over the hill saying Lowry almost but not quite ready at the moment. I agree. I think a couple of B team games, potentially maybe a Lowland League game and a UEFA Youth League game, and then we'll see where he is. We might even potentially see him in the Dundee Cup game off the bench or something like that, but we'll see where he is in terms of injury. Let's see what else have we got. Yeah, look, I think most people agree, Nicholas. Look, the tackle on Alex was a poor tackle, and I think it's disappointing that more wasn't actually done. The person should have probably received a longer ban, because I don't care what anybody says. I think anybody that's watched that tackle, there was clear intent to try and hurt Alex, and he did what he went out to do, which I think was the biggest disappointment for me on a personal level. Let's see. Oh, Curry saying he still loves you to bits, mate. I think you're a great lad. I do not slag someone off. I do not like them. There you go, mate. He actually does like you. I'm not going to put that comment on Muncher, because that's poor. I never said Martin was a lard ass. That's harsh. No, on to more important things, obviously. It would be great to have Alex back in the first team. We can all see the talent. We can all see the potential that Alex has got. When Alex is on the ball, there's an excitement, isn't there? You just feel like something can happen. And it'll be great to have him back. And it's just another player for Gio. We're actually starting to get players back fit now. I know we're an academy pod, but to see like Ben Davies back fit in the first team, you can see his quality. And the fact he can play on the left side of the defence just is better for us. If we can get Alex Lowry fit, if we can get like sort of Kamar Roof fit, it's just better for everybody all round, isn't it? It's a better selection headache for the manager, and that's what we want. And we want the best young players pushing through from the academy into the first team, because that's what we all want to see. That's why we're so excited to see Leon doing so well, why we were so excited to see what Nathan was doing in the first team. The same with like Adam Devine and Robbie Ure and Charlie McCann, if you want to count him as an academy player. Obviously, we signed off with Man United at quite a late stage in his development, but he has obviously played for the B team in the Lowland League. Another player we'll touch on, Alex, I know he's been out of the academy for a few years now, but Robbie McCrory signing a new deal. Did that surprise you? Did you think he was going to maybe leave at the end of this season and try and become a regular somewhere else?
I thought it surprised me because of his point of view. In all honesty, from what I've seen from McCrory, I've always rated him, and I thought maybe it's hard for a goalkeeper. It's really hard to get a chance, and what he has ahead of him, maybe this season, I thought he could have had a chance. I feel a bit for the guy, but and I was surprised to see a new 2-year deal, a new deal for McCrory. I just didn't see where it was coming from. I didn't see the extension coming at all. I really like Robbie as a goalkeeper. I think he's got a lot to offer Rangers, and I'd have him in net sooner rather than later. I think with the Dundee game coming up, it's another chance for rotation. Rotation is good and all that, and it's great to give other players a rest. But we can also see what McCrory's about. This guy needs to be given, especially with the new deal, given the chance to prove that he should be in the conversation for the number one spot.
Yeah, look, I was surprised. I was actually at work, I think, at the time when I got a WhatsApp message to say that Robbie had signed a new deal. And I was surprised, because in my mind, I thought that Robbie would just leave at the end of his contract and that he was going to move on. Because at his age, he's probably still not played enough football, because it's tough. He obviously he had a really good season, I think it was, at Berwick Rangers. And then he's had a couple of championship loans. He's obviously did like the kind of hard yards that somebody would say, but he's probably not still been tested enough to become a Rangers first choice goalkeeper. And I think that's like the difficulty that Robbie's got. And I just felt at his age, maybe it was one of those ones where he had to like sort of move on for the benefit of his career. And I think once you get to a certain age, possibly it's different for a goalkeeper, because goalkeepers can play until they're almost 40. Then it's difficult to know when the right time is to go. Because I look at somebody like Liam Kelly and look at how Liam's developed as a goalkeeper. He obviously left Rangers, went to Livingston, did really well. He then got his move to Queen's Park Rangers, where, it probably didn't work out to the level he would have hoped for. But now he's come back up to Scotland and is basically, the regular for Motherwell and is now part of the Scotland national team. For me, like, Robbie could be doing that as well. And that's what he's got to look at the next 2-3 years of his career, and if he's going to be playing enough football. And that was my only concern with the new deal, is that he's maybe just not going to play enough. But like everything else, sort of time will tell in terms of, is he going to get enough minutes? Has he made the right decision signing the contract? Should he have went somewhere else to play? We'll find out over the next couple of years. Right, the kind of final touching point. If anybody's got any questions in the comments, let us know. We'll try and answer them as best we can. I'll come to you, Alex, on tomorrow. What do we need to do, obviously, to win this game? And what do you think the final score will be?
I think we need to play our football. I think, there needs to be a bit of discipline, but a bit of urgency as well. You obviously can't throw yourself about the pitch and tire yourselves after 5 minutes, because in that way they will just then play around you and we'll be looking at more of a cricket score. But I think there's definitely opportunity. There will be opportunities for us, and we need to be clinical, which we can be in front of goals. And creating chances, we are a good team at creating chances, at putting chances away. Our conversion is decent. We can do that. I think we need to use the wings well. It is definitely a strong part of our game. And use Robbie as well. He does have good hold-up play. He definitely did against Napoli. And having the wingers come off him, McCausland and Lovelace it was at the start, they'd caused a lot of problems, especially Lovelace almost could come in, drift in, as a second striker, and it gave Robbie a bit of space against the back three of Napoli. There's going to be a tough task. Liverpool aren't going to be an easy team whatsoever, and we've already seen that in them. But, give it a go, because we can. And, this is the opportunity where, as you say, it is probably a must-win at home. Give it a go. And there's no hardship in being second best, but putting in an unreal performance or putting in your best performance, rather than, say, sitting back and losing 1-0 but showing nothing at all. So I think we have to go for it. We have to be, disciplined, but with urgency. And I'll be positive, and I'll go for another 3-2 to Rangers.
Yeah, mate, I think you're right. I think it could be a high-scoring game. I think if Rangers are going to win the game, then I think we need to be the aggressor. We probably maybe need to take some chances in terms of maybe leaving some space for them to move into. But if we can get more players in the box and get more quality into the box, then it gives us a better chance of winning the game. I'm interested to see what the manager, well, obviously the head coach, is David McCallum likes to be called, along with Brian Gilmore. I think it's important that we look at how we played against Liverpool and see what we can change for this game, whether that's a change of shape or just maybe a change of personnel within that shape that is going to work better than what it did at Liverpool's training ground, basically. I think for me, we need our top 3 or 4 attacking players to be at their very best. We need them to be clinical. When their chances come, we need to be almost 100%. So for guys like Robbie Ewers, Zach Lovelace, Connor Young, Ross McCausland, James Graham, etc., whoever it is that's playing up there needs to take their chances when they come, because we won't maybe get that second chance within the game for a player, and that's where it's going to be pivotal tomorrow. If we can get that first goal, it just gives us a little bit of an edge on the rest of the game. I think was a wee question there. Stuart saying, is Robbie McCrory possibly looking at Alan McGregor's career when he was Rangers number 1 at 25? Do you think that's a valid point, Alex, that maybe he's taking some advice from Alan McGregor and he's just saying, look, sign a new contract, let's see where things are next season?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a conversation starter anyway. McGregor will be a big role model for Robbie. It's probably for a lot of what he knows, or what he has known growing up. Rangers best number 1. So he's definitely going to look up to him, and John McLaughlin will probably have had something to say as well. So I wonder if McCrory has had a conversation with them, with the coaching staff, the keeper staff, and maybe that is why he's taking the decision he has.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one when you look at what Alan had to do to become the Rangers' first choice goalkeeper. Has he maybe given Robbie some advice on that front? That is something that is potentially something that has maybe changed Robbie's mind from maybe leaving to now staying. But at the end of the day, if the decision's the right one, then obviously we'll find out. If it's the wrong one, then I just worry that maybe he's lost a little bit of time in his football career. Let's have a look here. What's that? Nicholas is spot on. He's saying that the B team game, the under 19 game, as it actually officially is on BT Sports tomorrow. So anybody that's got BT Sports, you can watch the Rangers Liverpool game live, 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Or if you're in the local area, it's Firhill is obviously where the game's going to be played, Partick Thistle's ground. So either way, hopefully you can have a watch of the game. And obviously when we have the next podcast, you can have maybe a better idea or a better opinion on some of the players that we've been talking about during this podcast. James saying, would you not be better picking up the number 4 at set pieces, as it looked like Alan struggled with him a bit? They were some big boys, 2 centre-backs. One of the things we were talking about sitting in the stand was maybe doubling up on them. But then by doing that, you're then having free space for the other players. It's a difficult one. I think when you just look at the size of that Liverpool team, they would probably outman us in the box for those kind of balls into the box. So it'll be interesting to see if they've looked at that and if that then results in maybe a slight change of shape, maybe bring in a third centre-back with Greg Allen, potentially. So it'll be interesting to see what the actual starting 11 is tomorrow and how they obviously, kind of line up against this Liverpool team. So I think the one thing we can't do is have them having basically 3 headers in the penalty box, because they're just too big and they're too strong. And at that level, you will be punished massively. Right, I think that'll do us for tonight. Much appreciated, guys. Thanks for joining in. We've had a really good time. So it's great to have so many people consistently on the Academy pods. We'll hopefully try and do them more regularly now. I had a bit of a chest infection for a while. That's what was kind of putting a hold for me coming on. But back to normal now. So hopefully try and get another pod in 10 to 14 days' time. And we'll discuss the kind of next 4 or 5 games between the 18s and the B team. And we'll come back to you with more opinions on what we think is the next steps at the Academy. So thanks very much for joining in. We look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Thanks very much. Cheers.